the National Football League. Hi there, welcome. This is Sports Center from the nation's capital. I'm Scott Van Pelt. We have a packed guest list. The number one pick, Fernando Mendoza, Nick Saban, Kirk Herbstreit, Louis Riddick, Kevin Clark, all on the clock. And as I mentioned, you know how much I love the emotion of this night, seeing the tears on faces as young men realize, oh my goodness, I'm going here. Well, there's a saying that all politics are local, and here in a place where politics are kind of the currency, a lot of Commanders fans, I'm one of them, did not imagine Sonny Styles would still be available at 7. Thrilled that one of those talented Buckeyes that went in the top 10 was available. The fact that Kevin Clark likes it makes me like it even more. We'll talk to him about that in a moment. As for this first round, plenty of surprises, all within the first 13 picks. At 3, thought that Arizona might want to trade down. Maybe they didn't find a bidder. Maybe they just wanted Jeremiah Love. He goes third, makes him the highest drafted running back since Saquon went second overall in 2018. Saquon has translated quite nicely, as we know. Very next pick was a bit of a stunner. Ohio State wideout Carnell Tate goes 4, joining Marvin Harrison Jr., the only Ohio State wideouts taken in the top 5 in the common draft era. They'll add to that next year when number 4 comes out to play on Sundays. The shocker of the night, Ty Simpson from Alabama goes to the Rams at 13, joining Jared Goff and Sam Bradford, the only quarterbacks drafted by the Rams in the first round in the common draft era. He'll back up Matthew Stafford. Kirk Herbstreit joins me now, and Herbie, great to be with you always. There was a great deal of, I don't know if confusion is the right word, but haziness in the top 10 of this draft among the folks in the NFL that I talked to. Didn't know exactly how it would break. You have a lot of intel as well, and then we get the reality of the night. In terms of picks that were made, what struck you? What felt like a great fit? Something you loved in that top 10 space? Give me anything you want.
Yeah, I think Jeremiah Love going at 3. There was a lot of predictions on you could have Bailey maybe at 2 and Arvell Reese at 3. A lot of people thought that Love might be available for Tennessee at 4. So I think that combination of seeing Love go at 3 and then that opened the door. Tennessee had a lot of different ways they might go with Robert Saleh, the new head coach with the defensive mindset, and he decides to go with Carnell Tate. So I just heard you when we were getting ready to go on. I think that was probably the biggest surprise, the biggest whoa in the top 10. I'm with you. Ty Simpson maybe further down was a whoa. There's Sean McVay and Les Snead once again, maybe one step ahead of everybody else, getting their next quarterback after Matthew Stafford, put him in a position to really learn under Stafford and McVay. But I would look at that 3-4 combo, to me, probably surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, Herbie, you know my line about Ohio State, right? Throw it to 4. Well, throwing it to 17 was a pretty good idea for Ohio State as well. But I'm with you. I didn't know that Tate would go that early, but you pair him with a quarterback, Ward, who they took last year. I want to just take a moment with you to talk David Bailey, because, yeah, we knew Mendoza would go 1 and then Love's at 3. But Bailey to New York was one of these picks that there's not a lot of discussion about, and there's a ton of talented ends that come out this year. My guy Stanford Steve thought maybe Bailey's closer to the ceiling, and the Jets need a guy that can play right away. What's your thought on this talented edge rusher from Lubbock?
Well, first, I think big picture, the Jets had the best night, obviously, with their 3 first-round picks. They got Bailey on the defensive side, Kenyon Sadiq, the great tight end. It's such a matchup problem, and then Omar Cooper. So you get 2 weapons there on that offense that desperately needs some playmakers. And then I think I'm with Stanford Steve. I think you get a turnkey defensive end, a guy that can play in a lot of different alignments as a defensive end and as an edge guy. You can drop him. He's freaky athletically and powerful. A guy that I think is going to have a chance to really make a difference right away within that Jets scheme. So the Jets tonight, usually we're talking about what the Jets do wrong. Tonight we're talking about what the Jets did right, because to me, they won the first night of the draft.
We're going to have Fernando Mendoza on with us a bit later, and it appears with Kirk Cousins going to Vegas, maybe like Simpson in L.A., maybe you don't have to throw him in the deep end of the pool right away. And we've seen how 100%. That can really pay dividends. But what did this young man show us after transferring from Cal to Indiana, and what he did in that run through the playoffs, and particularly against Miami on a night where his toughness was on display? I'm just interested in how you feel like he'll project. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I was going to say, even tonight we're already thinking about, we on game day we were talking about 27. He had talked with a lot of people. If we did this last year, nobody was talking. Physical attributes didn't necessarily change. He was maybe more consistent as a passer. But I think what we saw was moments like this. They went to Illinois and had to come back to win. When they went to Penn State and a team that was desperate to this play right here, it wasn't just that play, it was the whole drive. What he did coming back from a pick. Eugene, Oregon, Big Ten championship. The 4 games that he made to run with in the postseason to be able to win a national championship. And doing so many different things. Playing from the pocket, moving around, being able to read defenses, his ability to process. It's next level stuff. So it's kind of ironic that Tom Brady is involved with Las Vegas and being involved in making this pick, because if you look at Brady coming out of Michigan and you look at Fernando Mendoza, kind of a similar skill set and a very similar approach to the game. They are students of the game. They want to beat you with their mind, not just come off the first primary, take off and run. This kid's going to work through his progressions, which is exactly what I think Clint Kubiak is looking to do. Now, you got to get some pieces around him. You got to get wide receivers. They got tight ends. You got Genty. They got to get stronger at the offensive line. That's what these next couple nights are for. But I think it was kind of a no-brainer that Mendoza was going to go there, and now we're very excited to see what the Raiders can do to build around him.
Herbie, I love the point you make, and everyone's talking about next year's draft already because it's loaded, but not a single person had Mendoza going 1 in 26, so plenty will change between now and then. Let's enjoy the next couple of nights of this year's draft. Go ahead, you got one more thing.
Yeah, I got one more thing. Picks by conference. It's always a debate and an argument. The Big Ten had 10 in the first round. The SEC had 7. The ACC had 6. That's the first time since 2015 when the Pac-12 and the ACC had more than the SEC. So it's been 10, 11 years since the last time the SEC did not have the most players. And there were 8 draft day trades because it seemed to be going really a lot there towards the end. There were 8 draft day trades and 3 teams with multiple first-round picks.
This is my man Fax McJohnny on the way out here. Herbie dropping knowledge on the people. My man, always great to be with you tonight. Great start. Look forward to hearing more from you throughout the weekend, brother. Thank you.
Go Terps. See you, buddy.
There we go. Always. And nobody else. That's the right answer. All right. Ty Simpson, drafted 13th. The big surprise, the 23-year-old becomes presumably the successor to Matthew Stafford, entering his 18th season. But at 38, he is coming off an MVP in 2025. Hasn't said how long he intends to play. Here's Simpson, the draft night shocker.
It was so surreal. Not only the fact that, I got to walk out on stage on the NFL draft, but the fact that, Coach Sean McVay of the Los Angeles Rams, took a chance on me and, who's a quarterback genius. So I'm super pumped. I can't wait to get to L.A. And I hadn't had great experiences in L.A. with the Rose Bowl, but I'm looking forward to getting out there and living there.
Simpson spent 4 seasons there in T-Town. Didn't start for the Tide until last season as a senior. 15 starts in college, 4th fewest by a quarterback who was drafted in the first round in a quarter century. Anthony Richardson, Mitchell Trubisky, Dwayne Haskins were the only who had fewer. We welcome in Hall of Famer Coach Nick Saban. And Nick, always good to visit with you. And obviously, you know this young man well, spent time there. And it would seem that he's going to be stepping into a similar situation where he's not asked to start immediately. He'll have some time and some runway to get prepared. Knowing the young man as you do, what's your thought of him heading to Los Angeles?
Well, I think it's a perfect scenario for him, as you described, to be able to play behind Matthew Stafford for a few years. Only had 15 starts as a college player. Looked phenomenal at times as a college player, especially early in the season this past year. Didn't maintain a consistency toward the end of the year. But I think he showed everybody that he has a talent to be a very good player. I just think he needs to mature a little bit as a quarterback, which means get more reps, get more experience, and then I think he'll be a very, very good player. This is a perfect situation for him to get into, though, where he doesn't have to play, where he's going to be able to take some time to develop, and I think it's going to work out perfectly for him.
Have you had a conversation with the young man about that transition from playing on Saturdays to playing on Sundays and what that might take?
Yeah, we visited quite a bit about all this, and I think the focus has to be, and what I've always told all of our players of Alabama, It's not where you get picked in the draft. It's taking advantage of the opportunity that you get. So getting drafted is not the end. It's just the beginning of a new career, and you got to be able to focus on the things you need to do to have a great career. And Ty's just the kind of person that's going to do just that. You know, he's a hard worker. He's a gym rat. He's going to do everything he needs to do to be the best player he can be.
I love the exchange with Ryan Day and you about Caleb Downs and how when he got to Columbus he was a mess, and that was a fun little joke. Obviously, he started in Alabama and went to Ohio State. I was surprised he was still there for Dallas to take him, and as a team that roots for someone they play against in the NFC East, I wasn't thrilled to see him. I think that's a really talented player. What are the Cowboys getting in Downs?
Well, they're getting just what you said, a better person, a really good competitor, a guy that can run the entire secondary, make checks. This guy is he's a football phenomenon when it comes to instinctive reaction. And I think if the Cowboys are smart, they'll look at how Matt Patricia used him at Ohio State. He's best playing from top down, but he can play in a deep part of the field. A lot of people are questioning where should we play him, at star, which is like nickel. I don't think that's it. Get him in that safety position where you can move him around and make 1,000 plays for you, which he did at Ohio State the last couple of years.
I don't know if two-a-days are even a thing anymore in football, but when you work for ESPN, buddy, you got two-a-days. And I realize we're late in the second of the two-a-days, so I want to say goodnight and let you get out of here, man. Thanks for taking some time, Nick.
I appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
All right, that's Nick Saban. Just now in Lewis, a busy night in the first round for 7 different teams that took multiple picks. I often ask you to put on that front office hat that you wore for so many years. And all these teams that had multiple picks, they need multiple players. In terms of how teams addressed needs tonight, how would you assess how those teams did?
Quite honestly, Scott, I think they did fantastic. If you just start with the Giants, you know, the Arvell Reese pick and the CeCe Mauigoa, Francis Mauigoa, they call him CeCe. These are foundational picks for John Harbaugh. I mean, Arvell Reese kind of gives the Giants now at the linebacker position, you know, a group of guys that can just absolutely be deployed in multiple different ways. When you think about guys, you know, like Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, along with Arvell Reese now, I mean, these guys can just absolutely get after it from multiple different positions. So the defense is going to be a problem. They have to protect Jackson Dart. I mean, obviously all quarterback sacks aren't on the offensive line, and Jackson's got to do his part. But CeCe Mauigoa is someone who the coaches down in Miami said he is very comparable to Penei Sewell. He's going to have that kind of impact. That is a huge, huge thing. When you think about the Cowboys now, look, Caleb Downs and Malachi Lawrence, that's exactly what they needed on the defensive side of the ball. They needed someone who, at the command and control center on defense in the secondary, could, one, get everybody lined up, get everybody playing on the same page, which we saw multiple times last year, just killed this football team. They were done before the snap even happened because they weren't on the same page. So that's huge. Malachi Lawrence, he's one of those guys who not a lot of people know about him if you haven't really been, you know, one of those nerds of college football. But he is big, fast, physical. Exactly. I mean, he's got great hand use. He can rush the passer. I mean, that's right there. That's taking care of needs. The Kansas City Chiefs. You just keep moving down the line as you see Malachi Lawrence there on your screen. The Kansas City Chiefs, this is another football team. Mansour Delane. They move up to draft him because they knew that cornerback was something that if they didn't get him and someone else took him, they just weren't comfortable with the rest of the guys taking them inside the top 10. And this is a guy who's going to step in day one in Spags' system, and he is going to be a starter. Peter Woods, the defensive tackle from Clemson, you pair him with Chris Jones, that's exactly what they need. They need somebody to help Chris out, get that push up the middle. I said this about Peter Woods. I was looking at my notes after he got picked, Scott, and I'm sitting there going, this is a guy who's been so hot and cold for Clemson. He has drove the coaching staff crazy down there, why they couldn't get him to even out his performance. When he's on, he is Aaron Donald-like. That's what he looks like. A guy who can just wreck the middle of the defense with his penetration and then his lateral chase ability, but he just doesn't give it to you all the time. And so when you pair him with a guy like Chris Jones on a team like Kansas City that has this standard of performance that is basically it's Super Bowl wins or bust, that will get the best out of him. So I love all these teams with their multiple picks, the kind of work they put in, because these are some really, really good players that are going to some really good coaching staffs.
We mentioned the trade there with Kansas City moving up to take a DB. Philly moves up to take a wide receiver. Now, they made a trade with Green Bay to bring in Wicks, and now you go get Makai Lemon from USC, a guy who I love when I watch. I feel like he wins 50-50 balls, makes winning plays. That's a difference-making wide receiver. But, I mean, we don't have to squint too hard to connect the dots here to see the direction things are heading as it relates to Brown. I'm just interested in how you feel like Lemon improves Philadelphia and if it's an instant sort of a help.
Oh, without a doubt it is. Look, this guy at 5'11", 192, 194 pounds, you're sitting there going, how does he make some of the plays that he makes in those 50-50 situations that you alluded to? You do that because you have a high alpha level of competitive character, and that's what he has. You turn on the Iowa game from this past year, and he is making plays you're sitting there going, he cannot continue to make catches like that. And then he makes another one, and then he makes another one, and he makes another one. And it's against guys who are bigger than him, stronger than him, faster than him, but he just continues to do it. That's why people compared him to Amon-Ra St. Brown, because that's what Amon-Ra does for the Detroit Lions. He does it time and time again. He did it when he was at USC. Makai's following in those footsteps. And so you can see why Philadelphia said, you know what? He may not be the biggest, strongest, or fastest, but he's one of the best receivers in all of college football. His skills translate to the NFL, and Philadelphia fans, they're going to love how this kid competes. Love it.
I love the fact that for the first time in my memory, you and I aren't competing with a concert behind you where we have to scream to be heard. This is fun. Just two dudes talking ball at 11:30
Yeah,
Eastern time.
I can hear you clearly. I'm not yelling. My voice isn't straining. It's. All right. Hey, man, I mean, I don't know. Can we just keep going? I know you got to get other guests on here, but this has been fun.
Well, just prepare yourself. Wiz Khalifa tomorrow night, black and yellow. We'll be going in that direction tomorrow night. Lewis, thanks.
No
Enjoy the second and the third round and going into the weekend. I appreciate you, man.
Of course. Good to see you, man.
Always. All right, we know the draft always starts at 1, but this year everyone knew who it was going to be.